It gives me great pleasure to rise in support of this admirable motion. Not only are we fellow crossbenchers, we also share this. We're committed in our bones to a better environment, not just for our city, because we both live in Fremantle, but for our state, for our nation, and indeed for the world. Because as a world, we are standing on the lines of a train line, and we're seeing this train approaching, and it's getting closer and closer, and we are sitting there or standing on these lines wondering, I wonder if that train could be any lighter, or if a sidetrack might make it avoid us. We are on that line, the train is coming, and our action is required now. This net zero idea of 2050, no, I think 2030 is appropriate. Perhaps even 2025 would be ideal, because we haven't got a day to waste. We are actually seeking solutions, however, not making a problem. Here, we're complaining about this, that train is coming closer and closer. No, let's find solutions. And here I believe that while every word has been said in this motion I agree with, there are other things that we could do, other solutions. And it will be no surprise to you at all to hear that I'm going to speak about hemp as a solution for this, because the second limb here calls for action, and we have a remedial suite that we could put into place. You have mentioned a number of wonderful solutions, not just to reduce the carbon emissions, but also to embrace carbon capture. Now, what we're looking for is a restorative. We're looking here for something which will actually bring our world back into some measure of equilibrium, the way it was created in the first place. Now, to do this, you mentioned earlier, I was very pleased to hear this about housing and the reducing the costs. Are we aware that a house built of hemp, and there are a number of excellent examples now, of which Deepert is very well aware, where the cost for air conditioning is almost zero, the cost for heating is almost zero, the insulation is given, the soundproofing is given. It's an excellent medium of which we are making very, very little use, and it would save an enormous amount of energy if we were simply to adopt a new approach to building our houses, rather than doing the old-fashioned way we've been doing for 100 or 200 years. And we could also, looking at the trees there, this came to me, I hadn't prepared this, but why don't we have more trees in our suburbs? Why don't we make them fruit trees so the homeless and hungry can actually have access to fruit? What about verge-side gardens where food is grown for the homeless? Would this be a benefit to us all? It certainly would. I think we would all approve of that. But going back to the carbon capture, I had this wonderful discussion with the Forestry Commission. We were yet to debate this, but the knowledge that they have on carbon capture is immense, and we ought to continue this, and we will continue this. Industrial hemp, however, research at Cambridge University shows that it can capture atmospheric carbon dioxide 2 times more effectively than forests. Capturing atmospheric carbon twice as effectively as forests. So hemp, we can look at hemp as being an ideal carbon sink. 1 hectare of hemp would absorb 22 tonnes of CO2. 22 tonnes. And 2 crops per year of hemp would double that. 1 tonne of harvested hemp contains 0.445 tonnes of carbon from the atmosphere. These are UK statistics. It needs low fertiliser quantity, 0 pesticide and herbicide needed. Of course, research is needed, and research is ongoing. And I'm very thankful to the organisations within WA which are conducting these research institutes. That we could look at putting this into practice. Water requirements are down. It helps with diverse soil types. It improves soil quality. The roots, when they bind the soil, will reduce erosion. Anyone who's been in the wheat belt with a dust storm will see the topsoil blowing off into the west and then heading out into the sea. We need to do something about this, because the nutrients are going down and our crop yields are going down, and no one can actually dispute that we do in fact have climate change. We can discuss the cause, but the problem is we have climate change. What are we doing about it? And the answer is, at the moment, we're wringing our hands in self-pity and not doing as much as we could, or indeed as fast as we could. One other aspect of hemp is that it can be used in phytoremediation. Phytoremediation, cleaning toxins from the soil. It's a hyperaccumulator. Large amounts of toxins are soaked up. It's a fast growth cycle. It's also fast biomass with high tolerance for heavy metals. And is this worthy of intensive research? Yes. Is research being done? Yes, it is. We need it to happen faster. Time is at a premium. It was used in Russia to clean up the radioactivity in the soil around Chernobyl. It's been used in Germany for managing heavy metal toxins. It's been used in Poland for phytoremediating copper. sulphur in the soil. It's been trialled in New South Wales for rehabilitating soil damaged by sewage. It helps with reversing the acid changes in soil, remediating the soil caused by acid rain. Now, I believe that DPIRD is surely investigating this. I encourage it. I give thanks to the experts we have here, and I would ask for more speed, because we can reduce our pollution, conserve our water, and improve our soil. I see no downside to that. I have a number of papers here. One is from Poland, actually, but the thing about this, the Polish paper, who was that now? Jerzy Mankowski and Jacek Kolodziej. Anyhow, but my Russian is better. This paper was very interesting because of the possibility for phytoremediation, which brings me to the question, could we actually be investing in a trial of hemp to remediate the soil in Wittenoom? Well, the thing is, I don't know. No one knows, I think. It's something certainly we ought to be looking at, because the University of Pennsylvania, that paper I can only quote the source. I'm actually obtaining that and I will present that. It looks at revitalising the soil, again for Wittenoom, an intriguing thing here. But this, there we are. The third paper here is from Placido and Lee. They're actually from the US Department of Agriculture and Agricultural Research in Albany, California, looking at hemp as being a superior soil remediator. And they're looking at genomic sequencing and bioengineering hemp to improve its already impressive capabilities for phytoremediation. And so we have actually in my office a repository of scientific research I'm very happy to share with the members. What I would be suggesting at this very moment, for the interest of our members, I do have two papers here, the one from Jerzy Mankowski and the one from Placido and Charles Lee, and I seek leave to table these papers.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted.
Thank you, President. Because this second paper from Placido and Lee goes a long way to pointing out the attractiveness of hemp as a substitute for, as a traditional form of soil remediation, which is costly and potentially damaging to land. This could be remediating that much more efficiently, and I would recommend that we do that. If we were to do that, we could look at collie. I have a personal experience of collie with the regenerating of the mine site, which already, I believe, is being investigated, and I would encourage people to go further into this, to restore the land to a sufficient quality to allow it to be given back to the indigenous owners in a pristine condition. This is one of our obligations, and this is it's a right thing to do, and we can do this. It would help in so many ways. I haven't got the time to talk about that, but so many ways for enhancing Western Australia and Indigenous wellness. But we can also, yesterday I was talking with members from the Fitzroy water catchment area who are active in encouraging us to think differently about water. We've got a crop here which requires low irrigation, which can be a financial bonanza for the owners and will result in carbon capture. Can you imagine what would happen in an area where, at the moment, cattle run riot? Well, look, we all need to eat beef if we're not vegan. We all need to eat beef. But it does cause damage to the land and takes out an enormous amount of water for growing the fodder for the cattle. And we know, even if we are not vegetarian, that the costs ecologically of providing the fodder to feed the animals which we then eat is not actually economically or environmentally sustainable. So we ought to think about this differently. So we have our obligations here under the Paris Agreement. We must have hemp to reach those goals, I believe. I would put it to you, their scientific case is clear, and I would suggest it to my colleagues here that this would be a very important thing to do. We call the government to redouble its already laudable efforts in investigating hemp as an industrial crop. And we would stress it's for the environment, but also it greatly increases the state's finances. It can provide a balance, I've said in my the budget reply speech last year, this could provide a balance to our iron ore exports, which would greatly stabilise the security of Western Australia. Members, there is no downside to this. There is only upside, and we need to grasp this opportunity now. So with that, I give thanks for the motion, my full support, and thanks for introducing it.